What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Humble Warrior. Back with you guys again with another video. This time talking about Jalen Hurts. I just watched a video on YouTube entitled, "Is Jalen Hurts overrated?" Very intriguing question because he is a Super Bowl MVP. He won a Super Bowl this past season, defeating the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22. And again, winning the MVP. He threw for 330 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown, and they completely obliterated Kansas City. As far as the overrated title goes, in my opinion, yes, he's overrated. And I would tell you why. So, 3 years ago, you rewind the clock 3 years ago, back to 2021, the Eagles had a whole sample size of him in the season. It didn't go very well. And the Eagles are looking to possibly move on from him because they saw the ceiling as very, very limited as to how far he could go in his development and the way he prepared himself. Even with him being a weight room junkie, as they would say, it doesn't translate to the field. So his mechanics, his accuracy, his anticipation skills, all of that stuff really was still glaring its ugly head throughout the season. So they were going to go in a different direction with Hurts. But the general manager decided that based on the weaponry he had around him, they had to upgrade certain positions. So they went out and got A.J. Brown. They drafted Devontae Smith. They got Miles Sanders. And they built the defense up to be able to stop the run and create constant pressure on the pass. Great decisions by the management team, because the following year, which was 2022, he made a Super Bowl. He was defeated by the Kansas City Chiefs, and which brings us to 2023. They had a backlash year. They started off the season hot, but they had hiccups along the way, and then they lost 6 out of 7 games down the stretch to limp their way into the wild card round, in which they got beat by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he had a subpar playoff performance. So going into the year 2024, they had a lot of question marks about his ability to lead and can he actually get the job done. He finished the year with barely 3,000 yards, barely had 20-some touchdowns. But what they did was they included his rushing touchdown, which I think 2023 he had like 13, 2024 or 2022 he had like 12. So they included his overall rushing touchdown with the passing touchdowns to inflate his numbers and say, okay, we had 38 total touchdowns in 2022, then 2023 he had 33 total touchdowns. But if you break down that number, 13 of those were rushing touchdowns. So that means he really only had 23 touchdown passes in a whole season. That's not really good. So with that, they went around this circle, this hoop. They kept going into talking about how, he has to be better and the Eagles have to do this and do that. When in actuality, because he really wasn't a passer as a quarterback, it limited the offense tremendously. Because the only person benefit from it was Hurts. Granted, he had A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith now. And again, he had Miles Sanders, he had Dallas Goedert. He had, I forgot the third string receiver's name. That was one of their deep threats. He had enough around him to where they could have made another good playoff run. But they wanted to blame the defense because they had gotten old. They said the defense leaked and fell apart, so did the offense. Down the stretch, the offense looked horrible or atrocious. And because of that, they were not able to close games. They were not able to win those games that they should have won. And they lost a team that they shouldn't have lost to. Again, fast forward to 2024. They go get Saquon Barkley, who's arguably the best running back in the league today. And there's not even the conversation to be had about that. They went and traded for him. During that point, this really turned Philly into an automatic Super Bowl championship team. Automatically. Because now you got Saquon, Brown, Smith, Goedert, along the defense, Jalen Carter, Nolan Brown, what's his name? The linebacker, Nakobe Dean. You got Tre'Davious Mitchell. You got the safety, Deshaun. You got along the front line. You also got I said Jalen Carter. You also had Big Jordan Davis. You had a lot of guys. Montez Sweat. You had a lot of pieces all around him that afforded him the ability to be mediocre within an offense. But they continue to tell you that Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. They continue to tell you this now. And for me, I'm just like, how do you justify that if everything around him holds up and performs very well and does their job to a militant standard? Meaning that, yeah, they'll drop some passes in there, but every play damn near is executed to perfection to allow him to do what he does comfortably. He doesn't have to worry about many mistakes happening. You know why? Because a lot of times the players around him are making those plays. The underthrows, A.J. Brown is catching that ball. Devontae Smith is getting wide open to make those catches. Saquon Barkley is shaking the defense loose to where he's going for 70-yard runs and stuff, and is opening up the offense so wide that you cannot miss the lanes that he's throwing into. So instead of calling a spade, they want to flip and put a club in your hand or heart or whatever and say, yeah, he's in the same tier as Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, so on and so forth. He is not. And that's okay. Same with Tua. Tua's not in that same tier at all. I won't put Tua up there. But when Cam Newton asked that question, do we win solely because of you, or do you win because of what we put around you? That question has to be answered. It can no longer be ignored when it comes to this boy. Did they win the Super Bowl because of him, or did they win because of what was put around him? Remove Saquon Barkley, did they win the Super Bowl? No. You know why? Because the game would flip to where we got to stop A.J. Brown. We got to shut down Devontae Smith. We got to shut down Dallas Goedert, because we already know that Jalen Hurts himself cannot beat us by himself. Can't happen. In that Super Bowl, the number one game plan going into that Super Bowl was to stop Saquon Barkley, because they saw what he did to Washington. The second play from scrimmage, he ran for 78 yards untouched. If you think for 1 second that KC could allow him to get over 150 yards in the Super Bowl or 200 yards in the Super Bowl with 2 touchdowns and not get obliterated, you are tripping. Because if he got off, and he only had 50-some yards in that game on like 19 to 20 carries, but if he got off like he should have, that entire game plan is much different. Just imagine for a second now, Saquon going off, then the defense is completely sold out on the run. Now you got one-on-one coverage all over the damn field. He's still going off, and they blitzing him. All you gotta do now is just play ping pong. Just don't let the ball hit the ground. But kudos to KC. The defensive line was locked in on Saquon. So was the linebacking core, and they kept him in bay completely. They kept him in check. But to say that Hurts was accredited with so much credit behind that game, it's hard to say that, because again, even the DC from KC, I have to say Dennis Franchione, what's his name, Sparagno or whatever his name is, he said the game plan was Saquon. It never was Hurts. They were okay with the passing game because they didn't believe it was consistent enough to beat them. But it proved to be that night. So, on that night, they blew him up. But I can't take nothing away from Hurts because he won a Super Bowl. But when you look at his numbers, it's like Cam Newton brought to the light. The man threw for 2,900 yards in 15 games. And people say, oh, he got hurt and he didn't play the last 3 games. Regardless, bro, you have 15 games. You put up 2,900 yards with the receiving core that you have. Saquon Barkley had 2,000 yards total from scrimmage. So that does answer Cam Newton's question, or that does justify Cam Newton's statement. He does not have to play elite for them to win. He could be mediocre to average and still win, in spite of what he produces. In spite of what he does, they still will win. Because they put enough around him to advocate or to abstract what he doesn't do well. They put more than enough around him to make defenses and opposing teams respect the fact that, hey, what they can do, they can destroy us like this. So we got to try to take this away as much as we can. That's giving him more than enough opportunities to do what he does up and down the field when A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith getting single coverage. Because the biggest fear is Saquon Barkley right now. You remove Saquon Barkley, it goes back to A.J. Brown. It does. And teams will get more and more pressure toward Hurts to make him do more than just run the ball and throw it to the right. I've seen this kid in college, Oklahoma and Alabama. The only difference is in college versus the pros is that in college he had a short window and everybody knew it because the guy behind him was better. And the pros, they'll give you an opportunity to prove yourself when they put enough around you to do so. And Hurts now been Super Bowl twice, won it once, Super Bowl MVP. But that does not give him the accreditation to be like, oh well, now he's a top 5 quarterback. No, a Super Bowl ring shouldn't give you that. Because of that, by that logic, that means Trent Dilfer should be a top 50 player all time. And we all know that ain't true. So because you get a Super Bowl ring, it does not automatically propel you to a higher status. It just means that was more of a team effort than the individual one. I don't know why the fuck this down the middle roller, they retarded. I don't get it. So for me, it's very easy to say that he's an overrated quarterback. Does he do well what he's given? To a degree. But to me, this year gonna say a lot because he has to do he's defending champs. And guess what they're going to do now? A lot of teams are going to be geared up to stop Saquon Barkley. How do you respond to that? Because now they're going to put the pressure more on you to deliver versus Saquon, who's giving you an out. And the sad part for him is that man curse is very real. So he might find himself getting seriously injured. And then what happens? I'm not wishing that on him at all because I don't want it to happen. But we all know the man curse is real. So what happens then? But anyway, guys, that's my take on it. Let me know what you think. Like, seriously, comment on this video. Let me know what you think. Cause I know a lot of people will come in the comment section about what I just said, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just want you to think logically. Even if you are a supporter of Hurts or whatever, think logically. Is he the reason why they won? Or is he simply a cog? Let me know what you think, man. Peace.